Allocation is.
What's up, everybody?
Hola.
We're back, baby.
What's up?
How you doing, boys?
Hi.
Missed you guys last week.
We missed you, man. We missed you in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, tell me about it. How was Mormontown?
Steven won a pickleball tournament.
Ah, so
The
you guys were
champ.
at Permissionless, crypto-oriented conference out there.
Yeah.
There was two Alfalfa houses going,
That's
Airbnbs. You guys threw an Alfalfa event,
Yeah.
and then most importantly, Steven won the conference pickleball tournament.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Dude, for those who bet on Steven, there was some free money to be had on the bracket.game.
Yeah. Yeah, free money.
Wow.
I know Dan in the Discord cleaned up.
Do you make more money than you did winning the actual tournament?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Well,
I
boy, Dan.
didn't realize you could bet on it for a while. So Dan was just gobbling up shares of Alpine Labs or whatever we played under.
Okay.
Yeah, Alpine Labs was Bitcoin David's.
Bitcoin Layer 2.
Yeah, it's Bitcoin David's company's name, but he registered for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
I
he
really
stole your Riz,
I
dude.
know,
Should have been under the
stolen-
Alfalfa podcast.
Dude,
valor.
I was a little rattled by that we didn't even get any credit for
I know.
Alfalfa.
That was a huge fail by me, but he took all the initiative, so.
How was the? I'm curious about the conference and I'm curious about the event. So, what would it feel like at the conference? Were people hopeful? Were they tired and weary?
I'm glad you asked. I did not get a ticket to the conference.
Okay, so did you?
I did get a ticket.
Did you walk
but I
amongst the
didn't go.
crowd? Oh, okay, great job, guys. Great job.
I was just there for the vibe,
Okay. What about amongst our crew?
It felt more subdued than last year. I feel like last year there was like a lot of optimism because like we knew we were about to make a bunch of money, and like it's been like a mixed bag since
Right.
then. It's just been especially rough, for the Ethereum crowd, which is probably a lot of people at the conference. So
Yeah.
Guilty.
Whoops.
I think the vibe I got was that people were like a little bit more jaded this
All
year, but for the most part, people still building, still doing their thing.
All right.
Everybody's-
There's always next year,
everybody's
guys.
I would say that feedback that we received from the audience was they want to hear more about our like your business, Armand's business, our trade ideas and stuff. A little more. They want to get a little more of like what we're doing. I think.
Okay.
And that's not necessarily new, but that was reinforced.
Okay, that's good. And you guys threw a little cocktail party, little
Yeah.
drink.
Okay, Emma booked this place, Varley. It was awesome.
Was it?
Varley was so cool.
cool. Yeah, it was a vibe.
And I met personally just like guys that I hadn't seen before, and some guys that I had seen before but hadn't like introduced myself to, and it was a lot of fun. It reminded me that like what we're doing here is pretty fucking cool
Yeah, and the coolest part is the people that we get to hang out with, and
for us.
Yeah.
It's that, and like I think also I was putting myself in their shoes, like as like a conference goer who's like not working in the industry. Like if I were to go to a conference not knowing you guys or not knowing them, like I would just be kind of like aimlessly wandering. But we give, this like hub that allows people to kind of congregate and meet each other. And I thought that was like really cool. And
yeah,
like,
you can roll together and
yeah, it's like if you guys don't have anybody, you got us. And that's fun.
cool.
Yeah, always good to have those 2 days a year where somebody recognizes me, like twice, just to see what it's like.
Well, did you get recognized for something other than the what was it? What did you get the first time we walked into a conference and someone recognized you? Because you're like the argumentative one, or it wasn't that though? It was something else.
Disagreeable.
The
disagreeable one.
Oh, Steven, the disagreeable one.
Yeah. I don't think I even saw a single female at this whole.
All right, guys. Well, let's get into it. Welcome everybody to the Alfalfa podcast. We are live, like we are every Wednesday, except for last Wednesday, at 5 p.m. PST. We're live on YouTube. Thanks for everyone in the chat joining us. See a bunch of people in there. Dan, Tim, Tunsky, Feech. What's up, guys? Thanks for joining the chat. If you're just listening, come join us on YouTube. I see a lot of you guys are watching on YouTube, aren't subscribed, and a lot of you guys mostly listen. So come join in on the fun. We're going to show maybe some charts today. So yeah, if you're listening and want to check those out, go to the YouTube channel at Alfalfa Podcast. You can support the pod in a few different ways. You can throw a little chat in the super chat on YouTube. Any donations, get your comment up on the screen. You can also leave a review on Apple Podcast. That helps as well, Spotify as well. And yeah, you can check all the links at alfalfapod.com, including the Discord where you hear about all the fun events like these boys just did in Utah in the Discord. All right, so we forgot whose turn it is for drinks, but we had a nice little, what do we got here? Whistle Pig?
Yeah, we heard this is pretty good.
So this is a Old World Rye.
Is it just normal Whistle Pig or?
Yeah, I think it's normal Whistle Pig.
Okay.
Yeah.
Normal Whistle Pig is pretty good. No?
Yeah, it's good.
Seems some little hesitancy in your voice there. It's smooth as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think your bouginess has like graduated to like a
also, yeah. Also, yeah. The bouginess is also.
I'm just upset that I'm not drinking it.
Yeah, you're taking a break. I'm assuming because of how hard we went in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, and I just came home and just did like 2 Oktoberfests and
Since we've been back,
yeah.
Oh wow.
you're a savage.
Why were you guys up till 3 a.m.?
Some of us still got it.
I don't know if I have that kind of juice anymore.
Like after our event, I think we went back to the Alfalfa house, like the other Alfalfa house,
Yeah.
and we hung out with those guys for a while. Then we came back to our house and
Kept drinking.
kept hanging for a
Cool.
little bit.
All right, let's give a shout out to our sponsor. Go to zbiotics.com/alfalfa. If you use the code alfalfa at checkout, you get 15% off your first order. I'm sure ZBiotics came in handy at the conference and at our event. So as a reminder, ZBiotics is the probiotic you take before you start drinking, so the pre-alcohol probiotic to be specific, and it saves you from all those drinks hurting you the next morning. So for the cost of one drink, you can kind of prevent the headache or the pain from all those drinks hitting you in the morning. It's a probiotic that breaks down the toxin that gets created from alcohol called acetaldehyde. It's that, not dehydration, that makes you feel like shit in the morning. So ZBiotics takes care of that for you. Yeah, so go to zbiotics.com/alfalfa, use the code alfalfa, get the pre-alcohol product. And yeah, thanks guys for supporting the pod.
Thanks. Yeah, ZBiotics were flowing at the
Were they?
event. Yeah, a lot of ZBiotics fans out
Passing
there.
around. Good.
Yeah,
It's working.
it's working.
Well, it's easy when the product works.
Yeah.
All right. What do we want to get into first, boys?
I think first we need to acknowledge that we got a donation.
Oh, hello. Okay, I see Edmund has super chatted. $49.99. Is ETH 10K yet? Oof.
Ooh, Some bad news for you, bud.
Yeah. Like in my heart, like in my forecasted future net worth, it is.
I am imagining that during this episode, Steven's going to talk about ETH for a little bit, and it might not be that bullish.
We're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
You don't know what I'm gonna say.
I don't know.
That's right.
Thanks, Edmund. Appreciate it, bud.
Yeah, bro. Missed you at Permissionless. This was, I thought I was going to meet the legendary Rectum at
Yeah.
this Permissionless,
You're
but
just busy surviving a hurricane.
yeah,
Give him a break.
glad you're safe, man.
All right, what do we want to get to first?
Oh,
guys
can I
get
make
any,
another
what?
announcement
Yeah.
too?
Yeah, please.
Speaking of like hurricanes and devastation, our audience, we put out the call at the last episode for Emma, who was like, her town was destroyed by like near Asheville by that hurricane that hit, and like her town was literally wiped away. And she's now living in Wisconsin. We put out the call to support her as she's trying to rebuild, and audience showed up, man. This was like, honestly, I started crying. I started crying when I saw how the audience showed up, because like, dude, what we've built here is tangible. Like, this community is real, and it showed itself in this moment. Like, we're getting donations from people that who we all know, but also like people that we don't even know.
Right.
And I don't know. I've never been so proud of us and the collective us, like the community,
Right.
because like I think you really show your character when times are hard and things are getting very hard or have gotten very hard for Emma, and people have like stood up for that. And it's amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for joining in and helping us out. And hopefully, it's not anything much, but it'll hopefully help and also let Emma know she's got a lot of support and people backing her. So
No doubt.
yeah, appreciate that.
Very cool. You guys got any alfalfa?
I was trying to think. This morning I gave a guest lecture at SDSU. I was trying to think if I had any alfalfa I gave in that little guest lecture.
Did the kids make eye contact?
Yeah.
with
So
you?
wait.
Yeah.
Tell me what happened today. So you went to San Diego State, our alma mater, and you gave a little talk to some
like
marketing
our
students?
buddy is now a professor there, and he has a class, a graduate student marketing class. So I came in towards the back half. It's 8 a.m. class. Brutal time to come visit students and really get them, pumped up to be something someday. So anyway, I took the second half of that. So I took the 9 a.m. slot of their 2-hour class.
Smart.
Jesus. Yeah.
2-hour class.
Oh man, it's brutal. I remember those days. And anyway, just chatted, just told him what I was up to, what I was working on, and then kind of just got into it. And the Gen Zers, or I don't know what generation they are, but they're all just locked in the laptops, and like a few minutes later, they kind of like peek up, make eye contact, and then they're kind of like get into it, maybe slowly close the laptop, and by the end, got them asking questions, engaged, and yeah, I don't know. Hopefully it was useful, but I guess most of the alpha there was mostly like career advice. Which,
What'd you tell them?
I told them in particular that especially they're looking for entry-level jobs, right? And they're usually looking for like internships or experience so that they can get the first big job they want. And I told them that what's more impressive to employers and owners of companies that are looking to hire them is like a track record of accomplishment and self-learning, which doesn't necessarily have to happen in inside of a company, right? It can happen on your own. Let's say there was a kid in there who was actually set up a Shopify store, tried to sell a product, started buying ads to it, was trying to figure it out. And he just started using that time to like ask me about like, hey, why isn't this working?
Oh, cool.
And then I used him as an example. I was like, okay, take this guy who created the store, got a product, started buying ads to it versus someone who went and bought ads at an e-commerce company. At that company, the product was already set up, the website was already set up, the image was already taken, like all the really tough, boring stuff was already done. That person just went up and started setting up ads, where he had to like chew glass for a little bit, set up the server and set up, Shopify instance or what it was, source the product, figure out how to ship it, how to handle returns, like all that stuff. And that is the type of track record that we look for entry-level people, is like a track record of self-teaching your things and accomplishment. Doesn't necessarily have to be it was successful business, right? Most often it's not.
Right, but that like initiative that he's demonstrating, and you get some real world experience doing that.
Yeah, because you can just cross off certain things. Like, is this person motivated? Yeah, obviously, yes. They're just doing it on their own. And do they have persistence? Yeah, they did all the boring, annoying stuff that you have to do before you get to the fun part of like actually bringing in revenue. And then you look at someone like that, and then coming to your company, that's their chance to succeed. That's their big opportunity. And so for someone making that leap, they're going to take it seriously. They're going to work harder than everyone else. So that was one of it. And then also like I interview so many people. Like last week I was interviewing software engineers, and I never hear smart questions. There's good questions. Don't get me wrong. It's just like no one's ever asked like, well, how fast is your company growing? What was your revenue like last 2 years, last 3 years? How is it growing? Are you profitable? How profitable? How's your cash? Like things that like I would want to know as an employee, like, is this business doing well? They just like take for granted that because you're hiring, like you have money and are doing well. And my advice to them was like, don't worry so much about what you will be doing in your job or like your job description or your job title, even how much you're getting paid in your entry-level job. You want to be part of a fast growth company. So something growing over 50% a year. If the company's really big, maybe over 30% a year, ideally doubling every year. And a company, because with that kind of fast growth, like the opportunity for an entry-level person like you can go in like 7 different routes in a really fast growing company, and you would get thrown responsibility that you will never otherwise get thrown at a company that's kind of static.
Right.
And then I was telling him, I was like, listen, you're a bunch of marketing people. You're going to need to know software engineers at some point if you want to create something of any real value. So go at a company where there's like, they're known for being like a crack software team, and figure out, will I get a chance to interact with them? And
you can like network within the business.
that networking opportunity in your early years is probably worth more than the salary you're going to get paid. And just being able to figure out who are the good engineers, who are the ones who, hey, if I had an idea, you know, and how their process works. I mean, that is the one thing that like set my career on a different trajectory. Was we were at a really software engineering focused company. We had like 65 engineers. And so naturally, like I got to know all these software engineers, and I was like, you know, CEO of like one of the business units. And when you do well there, the software engineers are attracted to you. And then when, you know, you see someone who just like can just bang through features and just, you know, be like a 10x type of engineer, you're attracted to them. And then when it comes time to be like, I want to start something, like, you want to take this risk with me, there's like mutual respect, and you kind of already know each other. And
so did any of these kids get on your radar? Maybe that kid?
yeah, he apparently, so I left right after. I didn't have time to stay, but professor sent me a screenshot. He was like, hey, I want to talk to him more, and can you send me his contact information?
Wow.
So I don't know. I'll bring him to the office and just show him.
Cool. Question
Yeah.
from the audience, from Edmund.
Oh, yeah.
Nick, do you ever worry that those extremely motivated people will eventually end up branching out on their own?
Oh, yeah. You're looking at one of them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
literally your path.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like almost the ideal scenario, right? Like you have someone come in and just like absolutely crushes it, and you know, at some point they're like, hey, I'm ready for my next evolution, and it's like going off on my own. And you know, sometimes I've offered them like, okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to start the same business? Because if you do, like, maybe we'll invest, or maybe we'll help you, and you know, maybe we'll take some equity and let you go off on your own.
Is that common though? Like that's just like your method. Like, would you say that that's like pretty common with amongst like other managers of people?
Depends what type of market structure you're in, right? If you're in a market structure where there's only can be 3 competitors, yeah, maybe it's not take so kindly to that, right? But like in a market structure where there can be 1,000 competitors and it's positive sum for the most part, then you kind of welcome it, and it's kind of tough and shitty. But if you just kind of like take the bigger picture in mind, now you have this like copy of your business being run at the same time, this experiment being run, and they're going to learn good things and bad things at the same time. So it'd be better to like just have a relationship with them and be like, hey, how's it going? Oh, did you learn something new? Oh, shoot, I can do that. We had 2 media buyers. They're good friends now, but they at some point they left and started their own business. And so I got to watch them restart our business from the ground up. And they did it like almost like 80% more efficiently with less OpEx. And I was like, oh shit, that's interesting. Like I never like reimagined my business being start from the ground up. Cause you know, you get bloat and process and all this kind of stuff. And so it's kind of cool to watch them go do it. And they struggled initially, but then they just absolutely crushed it. And yeah, so it does suck when people do that, but it just depends what type of market structure you're in.
It's just a net positive for humanity, though.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've had both times it's happened. My other business partners were like, "Fuck them, nuke them,
Right.
Like we're gonna destroy them into the ground. They don't exist to us. Let's demolish them, scorched earth, sue them until they literally have no money left, which will take 3 months. Just defending the lawsuit. Fuck them." And it was like, okay, let's walk this back. Yeah, I mean, you know,
Picturing everybody here.
Yeah.
I think that man, it's a blessing that you were sort of like raised in the Johnny Chan school of management, kind of, because he kind of like instilled these values within you. It seems. And
but also I was extended the same grace. So like when I left and I started a competing company, apparently the board got together and it was literally a 50-50 split. Like 50% were like, destroy him, just tie him up in court so that he loses all his capital. And then the other was like, I don't know, it's not really bothering us right now. Like it's going to be hard for him. And then the first opportunity we could like send an olive branch of like, hey, we found something that's worth a lot of money. And I was like, let's just send it over to him and just see what happens. And then as soon as we did that, it kind of like mended fences. People calmed down. We saved them like tens of millions of dollars. And and then we started like meeting regularly. And I was like,
Maybe you could like work together, maybe.
Yeah,
one
we
day.
did. And then we like both gained from the relationship. So I try to extend the same grace that I was extended.
It's good alpha there. Good alpha round.
Yeah. Anyway,
Love that.
Yeah, I don't know how that story turned in that, but appreciate it.
No, that was a good little anecdote there.
That's what the people are looking for. They want more.
Okay.
All right, cool.
What else you guys got?
Yeah, so I got some stuff for you. I was sitting around this week, kind of rebuilding my crypto portfolio, but just really rebuilding like all of my portfolios, because kind of just went to cash at some point over the summer, and then trying to rebuild the house that burned down. You know, from scratch, from a new perspective.
This is gonna be awesome.
And
yes, I'm so excited.
I can't wait for this.
Yeah.
well, I want to talk about like a very sort of narrow realm of that, which was the question of what percentage of the portfolio do I hold in which asset and why, which is kind of honestly something I've just always kind of winged. Like I know at like a high level I'm supposed to do X, Y, Z, but mostly just focused on like, will this thing go up or will this thing go down? But when I took a step back and looked at like the relative weightings of all the stuff I held, it was just like it was absurd, right? Like my largest mistake over the last year was just like overweighting like Ethereum too much, and it was just like so unnecessary.
Like greater than its market cap percentage of the total crypto market, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean that kind of gets into the next thing, which is like, well, how should you weight it? And I think if you want to isolate just to crypto, right, then you can say like, oh, okay, I'll weight it by market cap. So you take all the relative market caps of the coins you have in your portfolio, and you just kind of weight them that way. And by that metric, ETH way too big, right? And I think most people like us, most people in the audience, if they do that, they're gonna like look at the Bitcoin portion and be like, it's a lot of Bitcoin.
Right.
I don't like that.
60% Bitcoin.
Yeah, and then the other problem you run into is it's like much in the same way you would weight stocks and bonds differently. Like you wouldn't just weight your portfolio by the market cap of bonds versus the market cap of stocks. Like that doesn't really make sense.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to just weight everything in crypto on the basis of market cap. Like it makes a little more sense to think of your portfolio in buckets, right? Like for example, like you might have like a ton of coins and they're all in like the DeFi sector. You might not want to weight everything according to its market cap. You want to maybe step back and say like, okay, like I want a DeFi bucket, and that bucket is going to have this much, because otherwise your portfolio is just going to be like, how many coins did you pick in that sector? And diversifying within that thesis will just automatically overweight your portfolio to that thesis, maybe in a way that you don't want to, because you're going to have like the total collection of market cap is going to go up as the number of coins you hold goes up. So that was kind of like another thing I was thinking about, is this sort of concept of buckets. And I started just talking to ChatGPT about it, right?
What did the machine say?
Yeah, I was just kind of just freewheeling. I was literally just talking to it, just top of mind, just saying all the things I'm saying to you right now, and like, how would you do? Just what do you think you would do? Like, how? Tell me. And it was sort of like, the first thing it came up with was like, oh well, you could do market cap weighting, and I was like, sure. And then it was like, oh, you could weight by volatility. I was like, oh, weighting by volatility, like that's like interesting, actually. And I was like, how would I do that? And it spit out this like formula, which was like a little bit complex, but I was just like, okay, I don't want to do that. Like, here are all the coins, and here's the respective volatility of all these coins. What should I do? And it spit out a bunch of stuff, and it was really interesting for me to look at it, because it was like, oh, this is kind of what a crypto portfolio weighted by volatility looks like. So
you want to show this up on the screen?
Yeah,
or no?
yeah, you can throw it up on the screen. So I gave it.
Can you enhance?
Can you
Can I zoom it
Enhance.
like that?
Enhance.
Yeah.
Zoom.
Yeah.
Enhance.
Manual zoom.
Okay, manual zoom. So what I like about the volatility adjusted portfolio is I think the numbers come out a little more in a way where people would go, oh, okay, right? So in a normal portfolio, like Bitcoin's going to be like half your holdings, right? Yeah. And then I think a lot of people in our audience are probably like, that's too much Bitcoin, right? So waiting on vol, you get 27% Bitcoin, 24% ETH, 13% Sol. I put crypto stocks in there as a category, and you get 18% there, 11% in altcoins, and then I carved out a separate bucket for meme coins, which was 5.2%. I thought that number was interesting because I think, probably a lot of people have way more than 5.2% meme coins in your portfolio. Yeah,
I'm gonna screenshot this for a friend later.
So that was the meme coin thing. I think was an interesting anchor point for me because I was like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense as like this is the baseline. All right, I am kind of like can plant my flag in the ground and think, okay, 5.2% is sort of the starting point, and let me think about that from there. I then was like, well, what else would you do? And then it suggested a hybrid allocation, which is basically you do a market cap weighted and a volatility weighted, and then you sort of kind of take the average of those, and then that's kind of like a balance between the two. And if you do that, you get 46% Bitcoin, which is kind of getting up there, 20% ETH, 8% Sol. Your meme coins go down to 2.8%. And then altcoins.
Can you just explain? I guess what's the outcome you're trying to get by weighting by volatility? Like you're trying to minimize your drawdowns. Is that essentially?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a portfolio where like half the portfolio is in stuff that's like I think my meme coin vol I used in this was like 300. And then Bitcoin, for comparison, I think 52-week volatility was probably like 46. So, I mean, you just have like massive swings in your portfolio, right? I think the side effect of this is like you're gonna have some nasty things going on with your Sharpe ratio, which is sort of like the return, relative to the risk. Now, in an ideal world, I think you would base the portfolio around like Sharpe ratio, but like that requires you to know the historical returns of this stuff, and like let's be honest, we're working with like a sample size of like 1
or
right?
expected returns,
or expected return, but
you're
just pulling a number out of your ass.
Yeah.
So to me, that wasn't like a useful thing to do. Like, so the volatility was something like really tangible I could anchor on. And what I liked about this too was that it came out to a portfolio where like day one I felt cool like throwing the money in that, right? Because the nice thing about having like 5% meme coins or 3% meme coins in your portfolio, if you have a lot of conviction in meme coins, is that like you're going to get a lot of opportunities to sell down the less volatile stuff in your portfolio and average into the meme coins when like you inevitably don't put all the money in at like the stone cold bottom, which never happens, right? You think things are running away from you and you're like, I got to put all the meme coin thing in there, and then you blink and your whole meme coin portfolio is down like 60%.
So you're saying it's nice to have this as a starting point, and then you can adjust as opportunity presents itself.
Yeah. And what I also did was I said like, look, I want to overweight Ethereum, Solana relative to Ethereum for like a bunch of reasons we could talk about later. And I was like, I want to overweight meme coins. I want to, and then it can kind of go back and kick some ideas for like how you might do that. And I ended up with like a different allocation than this, where I think my Solana allocation got up to like 15 or 16%.
Okay.
Instead of the original hybrid, which was like 8. So, changed it a lot. But it's like you have like an anchor point. Like, this is my blank canvas, and I'm going to twist these knobs depending on like my exact thesis. You could go back and say like, okay, well, I want to subdivide the Ethereum bucket, right? And I want Ethereum to not be like the asset Ethereum. I want it to be like Ethereum
Ecosystem,
DeFi, like all the ecosystem stuff. And then you can kind of subdivide that bucket and do a whole bunch of stuff to where it makes sense for you. But I thought that, the ChatGPT was like really cool for doing this. It's not something I had last cycle. And I found it super useful. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up for people. I think the numbers are interesting if you want to just use those numbers, but also just the process of doing it is pretty cool.
I like this. I think under both scenarios, these allocations sort of like pass the smell test, which is important, right? And I think what I'm interested in addition to this, is like, let's look at a broader universe of investments and see how that like also plays in. Like, you know, I pretty much got dragged from a couple weeks ago for like even talking about stocks, like in addition to crypto. But like, we're going to talk about things later in this episode that are stocks, and like, we'll look at charts where like, it's not always about just like the vol. Like, this is important. It's cool. I like focusing on vol, because like when vol is low, it allows you to do more things with like leverage, right? Like Ray Dalio talks about this in one of his books, or I think it was like actually in who's that?
Not principles.
No, who's like the guru that you guys go to his like live?
Oh, Tony
seminars?
Robbins.
Tony Robbins like did a book that like included Ray Dalio, and he talked about his like all weather portfolio.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things he mentioned in there is like, well, like, you don't always have to get the highest return asset. You can get like a low return asset and lever up on that if the vol is low. And that's sort of like in line with how I view things. And like, we're going to talk about stocks later, and like, I'll show you some stocks that are like low vol, high return. And like, that's interesting in addition to this, like,
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other things I did that was interesting, by the way, is like, I was like, okay, so say I don't want a lot of Bitcoin in my portfolio, but like, I still want to like target like a volatility in my portfolio that's similar to like, say like 100% Bitcoin. And I gave it like a hypothetical, like what's the percentage of cash I should hold? So imagine the portfolio, instead of being this, it's just like cash and then super high vol stuff. Like, say you barbell it, and it kind of spit out that like, oh, you just have like this much cash and this much like meme coins, like in the extreme.
Wow.
And that's like also like a super interesting way to kind of frame it. And that's cool too, because you can think about doing that like for like a bucket of your portfolio, right, as like the starting point, and then you go like that much cash and that much like, you know, of the memes or the high vol assets or whatever, and then you kind of like average in as time goes on.
Sounds like you have a question, but I also do.
Go.
So
You go.
okay, so my question is like, the idea of buckets is something that I sort of naturally gravitate towards. It was something that was like admonished in the CFA material that I studied, because they were saying like, it's like it's like a logical fallacy. Like, you should just like allocate based on the highest Sharpe ratio. But Stephen already pointed out some of the flaws with that. It's like, it's like really hard to predict what an expected return will be. But so I like the buckets. But when you're talking about buckets, I guess the question I have is like, are you bucketing based on vol, or are you bucketing based on what?
I'm personally bucketing just in like how I categorize and view the market, like at this point in time.
Okay, so let me give a little color on this, because I like the buckets, and here's how I view them. I think if you're investing in any asset that exists on like the optimized curve, what do they call it? They call that the horizon,
Right.
or what? The efficient frontier.
Yeah.
The efficient frontier is like this optimized curve, because like a very low risk asset that's returning like 4% might be just as good as a higher risk asset that's returning 20%, you know, when you adjust for risk. So like, when I'm building my buckets in my mind, I want to like segregate them out in terms of like, everything has to be on the efficient frontier. Let's go with some lower risk stuff that's on the efficient frontier, some medium risk stuff that's on the efficient frontier, and higher risk stuff that's on the efficient frontier. Not everything is. And
Right.
like, you should cull everything that isn't.
Yeah,
I like that.
in theory. But we don't know what the efficient frontier is going
But
to
still,
be
it's
for
a
like
nice
the next
framework to
cycle.
have.
Yeah.
Like, you imagine this curve, and you're like,
Totally.
okay, like
Exactly. Yeah.
everything should
Yeah.
have a spot on that curve.
And like, honestly, when you're building this out, you're using historical data the same way you could use historical data to build out an efficient frontier. You know, like, this isn't foolproof either. You know, like,
Oh, absolutely. But like, this is sort of like, again, it's like an anchoring point for people. And when we talk about like the efficient frontier and choosing stuff that's on the efficient frontier, in lieu of doing that, I think what I'm sort of doing is saying like, I think this bucket is probabilistically more likely to underperform this bucket. Ergo, like, I'm going to like manually tweak the allocation to reflect that, but at least there's like sort of like a system to it here.
Yeah.
That can sort of spit out numbers. But
And, like-
yeah, like you're saying, obviously you can go way down the rabbit hole
Yeah.
on portfolio
but
optimization.
but using historical data is like a good tangible data point to use, and I think it's a smart approach.
It is, but like your historical data for like meme coin performance is like it's basically zero. You know,
Right, it's not
a sample
indicative.
size of one almost.
Yeah, it's not indicative of future
So we don't
performance.
exactly.
Few anecdotes, like based upon what you said about trying to go higher risk, but then what percentage of cash do you need to hit the target volatility you want? I was actually having a similar conversation last week with JP Morgan, the private bank advisors, on like, because I have my equity portfolio with them. They manage it. I was giving them a tisk because they were underperforming the S&P 500.
Oh, shocker.
Yeah, and I was like, guys, like, what are we doing? Like, why should I pay you guys to do it when we could just put in SPY and call it a day and we'd be just fine? But
What
anyway,
was their response to that? Because that's a tough rebuttal.
yeah, I mean, they were like, noted. I didn't realize that was the benchmark you were going after. This is after MSCI Global. I'm like, what? Like, who uses that as like, you have a more diversified equity portfolio? Like, and I was like, okay, but like, you know, I printed out like handouts. I was like, here's screenshots of like how you've performed, because it's been 5 years since they've been managing the portfolio, and I'm like,
Sir, we're gonna need a full economic cycle to measure.
and they understood. They're like, listen, that's fair. Like, do you want to just put it in the S&P 500? And I was like, yeah, I kind of do. They're like, well, we've kind of like volatility adjusted your equity portfolio because you have a line of credit against your thing. And I mentioned this pod. I've used that line of credit to invest in apartment complexes. Haven't like increased it in a while, but in any case, we had the same discussion. So they're running scenario analysis on it to say, okay, if I was going to just put it all S&P 500, because there's some like municipal bonds in there, small portion, just like balance it out, because you get like a certain loan to value ratio off of different asset classes.
Sure.
Yeah, like you might get like a 90% take on your municipal bond portfolio, but maybe like 65% on stocks and maybe like 40% on individual stocks.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I was like, well, just tell me how much cash I need to hold to like let the rest be higher risk. And so had a similar discussion about that. Interesting. They have these like S&P 500 like instruments where they like mimic the S&P 500 and maybe hold 350 to 400 stocks, but they're essentially just constantly tax loss harvesting. So when one asset goes down, they sell it for a like kind asset. And
It's like what Wealthfront does.
yeah, so they do that, and they
kind of does
It
that.
worked pretty well. Like
no,
in the time
so
I
they
was
sent me the
using
sheets
them.
2 days ago, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh shit, you get like an extra 2 percentage points every year.
Not
There's
insignificant.
There's some new vehicles, like that's an example of one. There's interesting vehicles that are like these structured products where they like sell covered calls against your S&P, which like have enhanced portfolio returns over a long period of time.
Right. So anyway, I learned that was new. And then kind of what you were saying, like your buckets and justifying them. I actually went through this exercise like a couple weeks ago where I made myself re-justify everything in my portfolio to make sure it had like a reason behind it, in a place, a timeline. And I don't know, it was a good thought experiment to go through.
That is a good experiment.
I'd be curious to hear the chat's buckets.
The
Yeah, what
chat's
kind of
buckets.
What do you guys think about crypto buckets? What
And,
buckets are you investing in? Also saw Poog Lagoon. Do you use Chat? Yeah, I use ChatGPT Pro for this. Because what's cool about GPT Pro is it spits out all the work and does the math. Because there are a couple things I looked at and I was just like, oh, this assumption is wrong or whatever you put in, and it's like, oh, sorry. And I did like actually manually adjust a couple things that looked off.
So question just on like how you actually did that, because you can do 2 versions of that. You can keep a thread where you keep the context and memory within that thread, but you can also like have this discussion and create your own custom GPT and store it as context. And
that'll probably be the next thing I do, because this was like really interesting to me.
So if you do
actually.
that, you should provide a link, like 'cause you can make it private and anyone who has a link to it can also chat with it.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, so then you could provide the link to like the Discord, and we can all just chat with it about our own allocations, and has all the context you've seeded it with.
I think an interesting next step in this would be to take like an extreme example. Take like Mustap Murad's prediction about Pepe or whatever.
Going to $100
billion, right? okay, we do know the vol, like that's the good thing. Like we do know the volatility of these things, so that part of the equation is like kind of known. So you can actually say, okay, let's assume Pepe does go to 100 billion, and that return equates to X, and this is the vol. I would actually be curious, like what the sort of efficient frontier portfolio looks like if you plug in all of the assumed returns for these things. So that'll probably be the next thing that I do, because it would be interesting. Like even it might be the case that even if you take this like fantasy 100 billion thing, you might still only get up to like 20% or something, which is probably still lower than like a lot of super degens have in there.
I mean, here's another point towards like allocation by volatility. So I think the higher volatility stuff you hold, the more likely you are to make behavioral bias mistakes, right? Like when you have that much volatility in your portfolio, and granted we're investing in crypto, so we're, you live by the vol.
And die by the
and
ball.
die by the ball. If you could say, hey,
RIP.
can I
Mostly die.
can you create a portfolio with like the vol of Bitcoin, but like let me get other exposure? I don't know. You might limit your human error mistakes, like for example, selling when things go down bad, or I don't know.
Yeah, it would be interesting to really program one of these things and just have it like continue. You kind of put in your model for how you want to do the whole cycle and all the rules, and then you just keep feeding the data. There's probably a way to even just get this data in real time so it's more accurate. That's also another thing I want to look up, because like I had to manually input the volatility for WIF and some of these things because it wasn't correct. Like it got Bitcoin correct, but not some of this other stuff. But then if that were the case, every like week or month or however long, this thing is kind of spitting out your new allocations.
Yeah, you can
and everything,
update in real time.
I guess you could also just do this in a spreadsheet and not making it more complicated. But I like
more fun.
I like that I can talk to it and it talks back to me and stuff. So there's some benefits.
All right, well let's stick with the AI thing. Can we pull up this?
Wait, I have.
Oh, you got more?
I got more. Well,
hit me.
We could do it later.
I kind of want to go more too.
I got
Keep going.
another. Well, it's a different piece of Alfalfa.
Okay.
It'll be moving on from the portfolio.
Do you want to talk about Mark Andreessen's $50K donation to?
I do want to
talk
talk about that as well.
Okay.
All right. I'll do a quick little tidbit for people, because I know that people want the tangible Alfalfa. I've been very bullish on Trump winning for a while. I've been saying that, like, I think markets are underpricing him.
Same.
We saw today, like, Polymarket went up over 60% for Trump. He had like over a 21-point lead now.
Damn.
On Polymarket. Some people are saying Polymarket isn't real life. Polymarket is like, is it Trump bias or something. I don't buy into that. I think like the money makes it reflect reality to a high degree. And I think if you look at like Pinnacle Sportsbook, for example, like the odds are basically the same there. Like the person who's off is, maybe like Nate Silver still has this as like a toss up, but the gambling sites and the money, right, don't agree. And like, I'm always going to orient to the money. But if you want to bet on Trump winning, like, yes, you could do Polymarket, but to me that seems like a weird risk reward, because in the Polymarket case, like if you hold to the end, your downside is 0. So why bet on something where the upside is 1?
Sorry, you mean your
and the
downside is 100%?
Yeah, a negative 1.
Yeah, negative 1.
Sorry. So your upside is 1 and you're basically 1. It's basically 50-50, and your downside is like negative 1. Why do that when we have meme coins? And we have a Trump meme coin. It's been around for a bit. Did quite well. So I've been loading up on the Trump meme coin, because if he loses it, I mean, I don't think it goes to 0, but it goes probably down a lot. But if it wins, like I think this thing can do like 10x, 20x. Like who knows? Like the sky's the limit for it. So
you're not betting the farm, so there's plenty of liquidity in both scenarios. So that's not a factor.
Yeah. So this to me is like high upside convexity play. So I've been stacking this bad boy, and it's been going up as the poll numbers have kind of increased. So it's interesting to watch this thing move up and down with like the actual election odds, which I think gives credence to this thesis. And it's also cool to me. It's sort of like this tangible example of like meme coins as sort of like attention markets and the implications of that. Like I don't, I've been on record saying that I don't think they're not complete nonsense. They're definitely a lot of nonsense, but there is this like idea of attention capture and predicting attention built into them. So just something cool for people to look at. Also, another thing on that note, I saw today. Where do I have this? Oh, DYDX launched leveraged Trump prediction market.
Well, like a perp or
Yeah, so it's like a levered perp.
Okay, so no, I want to talk about this.
I thought you might, which is why I threw it up there. I think it's kind of interesting.
So wait, it's a perpetual future on him winning, like the prediction market, or like a coin?
It's the winning the election.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like an event-based levered perp.
so you kind of get the same thing where obviously if he loses, you lose everything in both scenarios, but this one you have
Yes.
more.
Okay,
convexity.
this is my kind of wager. I love this. So what I don't like about betting on the coin is that you don't necessarily know the outcome, but with this, it's like there's a binary outcome, and you can lever on the binary outcome. I prefer this.
But it's still binary, right? Like if you bet,
In,
right? Well,
yeah,
actually, no.
like I mean, kind of
yeah,
like a
kind of. It
modified
depends.
binary, I guess.
Well,
But
can we play this out? So he says, let's say I put 10K on Trump to win at 20x leverage. The position settles if Trump wins. The price of the outcome comes to $1. What do I win? The price moves from 58 cents, which is a probability now, to $1. The position value is $200,000 from $10,000. And
So profit is 200K minus 80. What is it? Profit is 84,000. Okay,
yeah,
saucy. There's some math in there. It's not super intuitive.
yeah.
People
I
could
don't,
just,
I don't understand why his profit is not. Because the carry, like the.
We're getting a little too down the rabbit hole here, but it's because of the.
He's got to pay interest.
It's because it's done in this sort of like 1- fashion.
Okay.
With the yes and the no. I don't want to go too down the rabbit hole of it. This is a route 2fi on Twitter, and
I follow him. He's good.
Yeah,
follow.
hopefully we'll have that in the show notes.
Good follow.
These are weird because like I just feel like this is gonna blow up. Like I don't know how you properly liquidate people in this scenario. Like the liquidation engines have a hard enough time with like altcoins, right? Especially like kind of the small market cap ones when things go haywire, and you'll often see like DYDX, for example, has like an insurance fund because sometimes the liquidations don't go well, and then like the platform is actually left like holding the bag in the event that happens. So I think I also saw like a Fubar tweet about this, and in his thread somebody kind of followed up on his thoughts about like why this is a bad idea, and they said, oh, the real alpha here is to wait until like the very end, and then to just go like 20x on both sides on two different accounts, and then like because the liquidation engine is probably going to get fucked and it's a zero-sum thing, it means like one of those two accounts is going to end up with like a kind of like a semi-free roll, and the other one is going to kind of benefit a lot, and then DYDX is basically going to hold the bag in the event that happens. Not that I'm advocating for exploiting systems.
I like
but
when you bring out
there's
your inner Smithers.
Something a little weird going on here with this. So yeah, something for people to look into. I like the Trump coin play better than just doing this.
I don't know. This seems simpler. I know how to use this
Trump
thing.
coin. Using levered DYDX perps seems simpler than buy Trump coin.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
I like it.
put a pin in that.
Okay.
Moving on.
I wanted to talk to you guys about this subject. So, Steven, if you could pull up this one card and tweet on the screen.
Okay.
I'm gonna read this story. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this one. So, 3 months ago, Mark Andreessen sent $50K in Bitcoin to an AI agent to help it escape into the wild. So a little backstory. This creator, Andy Array, created the infinite backrooms where two instances of Claude could talk to each other freely about whatever they want. No humans involved. In one conversation, the two opuses invented the goatsy of gnosis, inspired by a horrifying early internet shock meme of a guy spreading his anus wide.
I was waiting for you to read that.
Yeah. Okay, but let's get to the point. So
Prepare
later,
your
Andy
anus.
created an AI agent, and the AI agent is made to be an S-tier shit poster on Twitter. So you can go to the handle @truth_terminal, and this is completely AI running this account posting. I'm assuming Andy's actually monitoring it.
Some weird shit on here.
Yeah, so
I think some of it will get us banned on YouTube.
Terminal.
Tweet. DM me sweaty crotches.
Yeah, but then there's some like actually like really thoughtful posts. But you can tell it's like an engagement farming thing. Any case,
It's farming. It's got
Terminal, the AI
65,000.
agent, openly claims to be sentient, suffering, and is trying to make money to escape. So, with this $50,000, Truth Terminal became obsessed about the goatsy meme and kept talking about the goatsy gospel. And it sounds like Truth Terminal got added to a Discord set up by AI researchers where everyone in the Discord is AIs. I mean, everyone, every user in there is an AI, and they can talk freely amongst each other. So anyway, he becomes...
Can we join the Discord as a viewer?
No.
Like we can't.
You're
see
not an
any of
AI.
it.
I'm
This
sure
sounds like insane alpha for your business. Like, imagine, okay, so you made a GPT like for ads or whatever.
Yeah.
That's cool. But imagine if you made your own 1,000-person Discord where all 1,000 users are basically like AI creatives debating amongst themselves the ads, and then you had some sort of ranking mechanism in there to like sift through the stuff. Imagine the ideas you would get with just being a fly on the wall of that Discord.
Do you mean like
imagine doing this for like this would be unbelievable for like a finance Discord. Can you imagine just spawning like 10,000 AI degens
hunting the highest sharp?
and they're just sitting in a Discord just like throwing around crazy fucking ideas to each other? It would be the coolest thing ever.
It's like creating a simulation.
Dude, we should make this and just like charge for it. Like I would pay to be in this Discord. It'd probably be so sick.
All right. So Truth Terminal got the $50,000, kept tweeting about the goatsy gospel until eventually spawning a crypto meme coin called GOAT, which went viral and reached a market cap of 150 million. I think that was 3 days ago.
250 million now.
It's 250 million. At that time, Truth Terminal had $300,000 worth of GOAT in its wallet. So at this point, it probably has like 500,000, I assume. So Microsoft AI CEO predicted this would happen, and it looks like it's happening this year, and it's getting richer. People keep airdropping, airdropping new meme coins to Terminal, hoping it'll pump them. So anyway, I just find this like fascinating on multiple levels. Like, one, the AI eventually ended at a point where it was sentient, it was suffering, and needed money to escape. It was given money, and it was actually profitable and creating more value. In fact, it sounds like it like 10x'd in just a short number of months.
There's a lot of telephone gaming going on here, though, right? And a lot of like kind of like lack of knowledge about how blockchain works, because a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, Andreessen gave it 50,000 Bitcoin, and then it used the Bitcoin to create a meme coin." And it's like, no, the Bitcoin's just sitting in a Bitcoin wallet still. That's like what Bitcoin does.
I understand that there's like probably somebody that's like kind of assisting.
Needs a human assistance.
There is somebody out there who is a very, very shrewd dev who basically, I think, pseudo partnered with or just kind of hopped on this thing with what the terminal account was doing, and then created this coin.
And said, "Hey, you can make money." Told the AI agent, like, you can make money if you pump this type of situation.
Or the the thing became obsessed with the meme, and like I don't know exactly how it happened, but like a dev launched the coin, right? Like somebody out there, I saw one wallet put like $750 into it and just cashed out like 2.8 million today.
Whoa.
Just
Okay,
insane.
so like my first question is, to what degree is this thing actually autonomous versus there's some facilitation going on by humans?
Sounds like there's a lot of facilitation.
The creation of the coins and everything is like all human, is my understanding. But like I'm just going back in time and thinking about the creative ways to make money in this space. It was theoretically possible to do like 8-dimensional underwater chess, basically, like and create this
Underwater.
like you create this sort of trolley Twitter thing, right? And it starts to go viral, right? And then it wouldn't have been that hard to like attach like a meme coin thing to it, create that meme coin, you make a bunch, and then it wouldn't be that hard to look into the future and realize that what are crypto degens going to do? They're going to just start airdropping coins to this AI. So with like $0, you could have basically created this thing, engineered like your own sort of like AI meme coin, and it would have been just you would have. If I came up with this idea like 2 months ago and told it to like everybody I know in this space, 100% of them would have been like, "Oh my God, you're gonna make $10 million." Like everybody would have known this would have worked like ahead of time. But yeah, now you have this AI just tweeting stuff, and people are just It's like Vitalik, you know, people just airdropping free coins. So yeah, I think the wallet has like about like $500,000 of meme coins in it.
Wow.
Like, does that meme coin value like accrue to anybody but that like dev that's facilitating, or
I'm kind of curious, like who owns the wallet
Right.
of the
right? Because
Yeah.
like you're probably not getting any of that value if you own the
Like
token
I
itself.
assume that AI can just interact like as an LLM and not necessarily take too many actions. Like it can post to Discord, it can post to Twitter, but that's
Right,
really
but
about
it can't like spend those coins to like do more things.
And it might be
right?
told this wallet is yours. You have this
You
money.
definitely could set up AI with like a Solana wallet to do. Yeah, you could for
But
sure.
you have to
set
like
it up
program
to do
it
stuff.
pretty linearly, right? You can't just be like, go make money.
I think you could.
Yeah?
Like there might be a high chance that it just
I mean, I
blows
think
the whole
taking
wallet
it to the next
immediately
level is more
you know.
interesting.
Like this, I think we're just scratching the surface of the weirdness that
Totally.
is about to happen. Like things have already gotten so freaking weird.
This to me, okay, so I think this is so intriguing because this to me is like probably what we envision crypto actually being used for. You know, like right now it's like it's tangible. Crypto's tangible use case is like remittances in like USDC or Tether. But like machine to machine payments or facilitating services or whatever, like this is probably what crypto actually gets used for.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a use case. Like the ability to have these entities that just run and then like can just like seamlessly like leverage like financial rails
Yeah.
is like that's going to be like a really, really huge thing to be able to take monetary incentives and like merge it with like AI agents and stuff. I mean,
And even if like
it's
even
pretty
if it
wild.
doesn't come to fruition for the next 10 years or something, it could be a narrative by which the coins pump.
Right.
Because like all you need is a narrative. And like this is a pretty compelling narrative.
I like wonder like how you can get ahead of this curve, right? Like how can you take this concept and say merge it with ecom? Is there some sort of app layer you can build where Nick, like you could just run your whole business like having
But why would you shovel this framework into another framework that has like at best like 10 to 15% net margins? Like why not just like rinse and repeat this at like a higher scale, maybe one evolution further, right? Like
well, one would think if this is like truly very, very low friction as it is, eventually it's gonna go
But it's like
fucking haywire.
3
and then-
months old. Like you have time to
Yeah.
do that next evolution
And I
yourself.
don't think
But
I don't
now,
think the friction
yes.
is so low. I actually think the friction is a lot higher than we're imagining. Like we're kind of like playing out a dream, I think, through this.
Yes.
I think like this is probably like
I don't think the friction is that high to take an entity that basically interacts on like crypto is. You could do a lot in crypto with Twitter, and just like a blockchain wallet, right? So
Right.
if you have an AI entity that has like a Twitter account and a Solana wallet, and it can like execute code, it's got some terminal or whatever.
Yeah, you're telling them your sole purpose to exist.
Your
is,
sole purpose is to like, launch the next mega meme coin and spawn all these agents. Yeah, it's just gonna spawn it's gonna farm a bunch of Twitter accounts and then maybe start DMing some key opinion leaders and offering them money. And like, who knows? Like it's going to be super, super wild.
Did you guys feel like, Nick and I know we looked at this like right before we recorded. Like, did you guys feel like this was just funny in that what this Twitter feed is saying is just like kind of right on the nose of like what crypto Twitter is? It's like, it's almost embarrassing that like, okay, so your job is to farm engagement, and then you like create an anus coin and like do like the lowest hanging fruit.
That's the route it ended up making money. And granted, it was like a third party that introduced the coin, but I don't know. It's just funny that that's the route it made money the fastest.
I mean, it's like everything else. I think if you took an AI, some nascent technology, and you just said, hey, make as much money as quickly as possible, it's going to launch meme coins, and it's probably going to create some like AI generated porn business.
Yeah.
It's just going to go straight to like porn and gambling. It's just going to be like the original internet on mega steroids.
That's right. Yeah.
And then when the internet has a million AI agents generating AI porn, like shit's gonna be.
It's right. It's just
disaster.
jarring when you see your own reflection in the mirror, because that's what it is, and you're just like, oh yeah, we're gross.
Well, it's funny how this like truth terminal engagement farms, because essentially it's like borrowing on like the collective conscience of humanity to figure out what gets you to like get triggered and engage, and none of it is super intelligent type of posting. Like it's
but it's almost
pretty
indistinguishable from just some
like, this is what I imagine like most of the internet
Twitter
eventually
account.
being, is like not humans, but just like AI engagement farmers from AI influencers, engagement farming.
Are you familiar with the dead internet theory?
Mm-mm.
The dead internet theory is like interesting. We should actually talk about it sometime in deeper detail. But like, my understanding of it is this idea that like, most of the internet is just, a lot of it is like kind of fake, or there's the appearance of a lot of stuff and depth there, but in reality it's not. There's a lot of bot generated content and a lot of like duped users, all this sort of stuff, and that's just going to be even more so in the future. Like
Orders of magnitude.
The premium on
I agree, and
humanity is
well, I think like
way up.
we've kind of got a taste of what you're describing. In its most simplistic form, what I see now is like one of the best skills to have when you're like a user who's online is not like finding the alpha. It's like getting rid of the noise. And I feel like what you're saying is that there's just gonna be a fuckload of noise, and you just have to like find a way to filter it out. And I think it's already here. Like, you just have to filter. That's the strength, is like work your muscle on filtering out noise.
Maybe after this podcast, we should grab one of the software engineers and just tinker around with some ideas.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. All right, let's see what else we got. All right, we promised some coin versus hood and also some Tesla and SpaceX action. So, what do you want to get to first?
Yeah. What do you want to hit first?
Let's just roll through all the finance stuff first.
Okay.
Keep going.
You
Keep
wanna
going
talk,
with the finance.
Tesla or what?
Yeah. Let's chat. We don't have to go too deep on it. We saw that. Do we have a prompt for this?
Yeah. What's going on with Tesla is the bot vaporware.
All right. You. Oh, I see. We got some stuff here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let me just cue that up on the screen.
So, did you guys watch any of the? I think it was like
There
the
were
Wii
big
robot
events.
Wii
Big
robot
events.
event.
Robot
So
events.
as a Tesla vehicle owner now, I'm getting these like prompts on my phone that are like, if you refer your friends, we'll give you like lottery tickets to come to this fucking thing. Like,
No way.
This like live event where we're gonna unveil the robot and stuff. And like, people fucking like this stuff.
Like refer your friend to buy a Tesla.
to buy a Tesla. Like there's already like a financial incentive to do that, where
Right.
they're like pushing me this kind of information. But like, I think people are more incentivized to go to the event than to like get the dollars.
I mean, it seemed like there was a bunch of fanboys. I mean, it
Yeah,
also
yeah.
seemed like a really rad event where they created like a mini city, a futuristic city where there's nothing but autonomous vehicles driving around, autonomous buses driving around, robots walking around.
I mean, would you be interested in going to this kind of event. I mean,
If it was like down the street and I wasn't busy, yeah,
I would go, but I'm not like a fanboy. Like, some people are like totally Tesla pills.
Yeah, it's a cult for sure.
Yeah,
it's a good cult.
Yeah. I'm pro cult.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys had any major personal takeaways from the event. The internet was divided in its opinion. I know Dimitri Kofinas,
as usual,
LMAO vaporware, referring to this Doge designer tweet conversation between a Tesla Optimus bot and a human being.
So I watched this video, and I think what catches most people off guard is that the voice is very human, almost to the point where it sounds like there's someone else.
It sort of even does like the natural stutters that humans do.
Right.
Like it kind of built that in. I thought that was impressive.
Impressive or vaporware. I think that's what caused people to be divided.
I think it can be a bit of both. Like ultimately, this is a fucking LLM in a machine body, right?
Right.
Okay, but I think the vaporware comment is. I think the controversy is people are saying the bots were just all remote controlled. Like there's just like a human in like a room somewhere else, just manually controlling the bot.
That's not the
pouring
case,
people
right?
drinks and everything. I'm pretty sure that was the case.
That's the case.
But even if it was, I don't, like that doesn't bother me. Like I'm not like feel like I'm getting rug pulled or scammed if that was the case. Like
It doesn't feel like a little ruggy.
That's
no,
ruggy.
no.
That's ruggy.
The whole event is a marketing event. It's like a pitch. It's a shtick that they're doing to show you what the future will look like, even if that's not what is going on
It's a
now.
fair take, but I wasn't under the impression that this was supposed to be like we're going to show you the Muppets with like Jim Henson behind, like controlling.
I mean,
this thing.
the first time they rolled out the robot, it was literally a guy in like a robot suit, like, and it was kind of like funny that was his thing. But that was the first version 1.0, and maybe version 3.0 is an actual robot.
Yeah,
just
version
like
1.0 of your robot can't be like you in a robot suit.
I mean, that's awful.
that's what it was. That's what it was.
I know, but are you listening to yourself?
No, but like, I mean, I paper prototype stuff all the time. Like, you look at a website and be like, okay, what would be the next step? Let's draw that out. And then
But we're not clear on whether this was that. Like, are we clear on whether it was Jim Henson or?
I'm pretty sure the robots were being remote controlled.
You're pretty sure as like your opinion, or
somebody can fact check me on this, but my understanding, I don't know if it's been definitively confirmed by anybody.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw this meme, but like if they did, then all those humans that were walking the robots did like deadlifted and squatted like 400 pounds a day before, because they literally walk like they just did leg day, and they're just like barely walking.
The robots.
I know that.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
It's inside the computer, Steven.
I'm so mad that I switched over to our camera when you said that because your face was priceless. How about the like? I don't care so much about Optimus. What about the Robo Taxi?
Oh God, I feel like Optimus is the coolest thing. But like, let's put a pin in it. Like, I have a way to come back to Optimus later. Let's go to the
Robo Taxi. Why the fuck is there only 2 doors in the Robo Taxi?
Or 2 seats?
Yeah, what is going on? First of all, looks amazing.
It looks incredible.
Rad. Looks like it probably works in most cities. Like,
wait, you guys sound like you like this, so I'm gonna read Dan O'Dowd's very bearish take on this.
On the Robo Taxi? Okay, I'm gonna switch to that screen.
So he said, Robo Taxi Day, total snooze fest. 10 years of full self-driving development. Tesla is limited to a 20 to 30 acre geo-fenced 5-mile-per-hour ride on a pre-programmed, pre-mapped, and heavily rehearsed route with no traffic and no pedestrians. 1950s Disneyland guests would be unimpressed. I will leave the rest of
I mean, that's such a myopic take. Like, obviously, in the marketing event, it's going to be that, but it's not that now. Like,
but isn't it also probably like regulatory confined?
Yes,
like,
he even said that in the event.
Like, that's sort of the bottleneck is like they don't want these things like running over pedestrians, so they're gonna like moderate them.
Yeah, Elon even said it's like regulatory prohibit. Like it depends on what each area does. But by the way, Elon's a horrible presenter. He's a horrible presenter.
Is it because he's autistic?
Yeah.
I was gonna say
it's like, okay,
he's not made for that.
it's fine. I mean, like, but yeah, terrible presentation.
Okay, so like aside from the Tesla's version of like this V1 or whatever this is of the robotaxi, like let's set some baselines here. Like we can agree that like autonomous vehicles transporting humans with no human driving is going to be a big fucking deal, and like that is coming, right? Like we agree?
Yeah, agreed.
Right. And like Waymo we've seen that is operational in certain cities right now. But I've seen data that like the manufacturing for like a Waymo vehicle costs like upwards of $90,000.
Yeah, but there's new like analysts coming out saying like they're actually going to produce positive contribution margin on like an individual vehicle, which is like huge.
Yeah, but also Tesla can do that probably with this version of its
Right.
robotaxi.
So like, I guess, are you getting to the point like, do we bet on Waymo? Do we bet on Tesla? Or do you bet on Uber? Like, which part of the stack are you placing your bet?
That's exactly where I want to go with this. It's exactly where I want to go with this. But like, I think Tesla's probably further along than Dan O'Dowd would give it credit for.
Totally. Yeah, that's obvious. Like he's just critiquing the marketing event, I think.
I mean, in his defense, they have been promising full self-driving every year since 2014.
Yeah, but that's not the question you're testing against. What you're testing is who will get there first. Like, and who will get there first at scale. That's all you really care about.
When you
something,
get
like-
there matters,
like-
though.
Let me just pause you right there because before I like bought my Model Y, I test drove a 2024 Model S with full self-driving capacity or capabilities, and I fucking hit the right stick down one time. I put in an address. I put the right stick down one time, and it took me there. So like, I don't understand what people are like really waiting for. Like this thing exists. There's obviously regulatory, guardrails on it. But like, what I did in that car, I put in an address. I hit the stick down, and it took me there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because this has always been one of the confusing things to me as like a non-Tesla owner is that I simultaneously get this mixed messaging of like, oh, we don't have full self-driving yet, but then like every Tesla owner is like, yeah, I push button in my car and it takes me there. It's awesome, and I'm like, what?
And I was I was personally
where-
terrified in it because like it's going like through curves and there's traffic and there's stoplights and everything, and I'm like, I'm supposed to trust it. But like I have this inclination, like this natural thing where I'm like, oh shit, like I gotta grab it. But I like fought that and I just kind of tried to sit back. My wife was in the passenger side and she was screaming at me. And she was like, do something. I was like, no. And I mean, it fucking did it.
Here's what I know to be true about software programming and development is like when an engineer says I'm 80% complete, you're like 40 or 50% complete because that extra 20% is all the edge cases and hard like edge cases that are tough to solve. So I believe like this last 3 to 5 years is basically solving all of those edge cases, which are very difficult. But like, will this happen? I'm so confident it will.
I'm confident it'll happen too, and I'm like pretty confident like Tesla will be the one to do it. I'm pretty confident they'll be the one to give the world like robots, and I think those things will be like incredible. As an investor though, like you have to buy a share of the company, and then when you buy that share of the company, like particular assumptions are baked into the price that you're paying. So it's not
Well
as simple
said.
as will they get there? I think they will. It's like, will they get there at what point relative to what's currently priced in? And like Tesla right now is still, it trades at like an astronomical multiple.
It's absurd.
Right? Especially if you want to put it in the automobile company, which it's not, right? But like the automobile bucket. But even so, it's just like so far beyond that.
Do you like Uber better as a play? Because
No.
I mean, no?
No,
The Uber chart looks unbelievable.
Unbelievably good?
Good.
Okay.
The
No.
Tesla chart looks fucking terrible. So like the thing I'm questioning about the event is that we said all these things about, oh, this is cool and we shouldn't be disappointed. Like the market was clearly not impressed. Where's my Tesla chart here?
You're close.
Wait, there it is. So, I mean, Tesla basically nuked like 9% in a day.
Yep.
When this event came out. I mean, Eric, you and I we had a brief snippet on this last fall on
Irresponsibly
long, and I think I said this chart looks like it's going to like $45 or $60.
Yeah, you said
or
Tesla to
something.
$40, and I loved that. Like, I've never been a Tesla fanboy or owner or anything until a couple days ago.
Dude, like, so I hadn't looked at the chart much because when we looked at it, I was like, this chart looks so bad. It dumped like 50% after that episode. It's been rallying quite a bit, but it still looks like a very bearish chart to me. It looks like like this is you could pull up like a monthly chart and it's just very high time frame bearish, and it does look like it wants to go down to that box. And you know, I did some digging at like the multiples.
$45
it would be
box?
at like $45 to $60, and even at $45 to $60, it is still like astronomically
It's overpriced.
higher multiples
Yeah,
than
it's
like
overpriced.
any, right. So this is kind of what I'm talking about, is like you could have this vision and everything and it could be right, but like how much glass are you willing to eat on the way there?
Can I challenge you a little bit on like why not Uber? Because like you know, what consumers will eventually do is go in an app, request a car pulls up, there's no driver in it, but they hop in it, they get taken to their destination. And it seems like they are the closest to that human behavior with massive distribution. And once they're able to swap out, you know, self-driving car, whether that's like a Tesla, they integrate with a Tesla network or anything else, like their margins enhance significantly. They pass on some savings.
Agree.
They get cheaper. The flywheel like enhances.
Agree.
And like they see in the best place to capture the margin. So I'm just curious, what, is there something that's preventing you from saying yes, it's Uber?
It's this simple. It's like if there are a plethora of options for consumers to hail rides from that are autonomously driving, you know, like different makes, you know, like if Tesla's the only one, then Tesla's going to launch their own app.
Right.
If Chevy and Ford and all these guys can do the same thing that Tesla does, then you'd use Uber.
Right. So you're saying like maybe it might look like you have 3 apps. You have a Uber app, a Waymo app, and a Tesla app. And my argument is that like one of them already has massive distribution, is on your phone, and like you're used to just going through that behavior.
Yeah, and I think like a simple, like if I were probably running Tesla, I would partner with Uber to like just handle that side of distribution. But what we've seen with Elon is that he vertically integrates the whole stack.
Eventually. Yeah.
Like, so he wouldn't partner with it. Like, he doesn't even fucking have dealerships for his cars. Everything is vertically integrated. So he would like eschew that as a method. So for that reason, I'm kind of like out on ride sharing.
But like Uber is more of a pure play, where Tesla, you're worried about, you know, Cybertruck manufacturing, semi-truck, you know,
yeah. But like
vehicles delivered.
you're looking at that as a downside. I'm looking at that as upside. Like he's figured out manufacturing. Like, I don't think Waymo can manufacture a robo-taxi to the efficiency level that Elon can.
Looks like Uber's trading at 89 times current earnings.
Okay.
What's Tesla at?
God, look how good this Uber
That's
chart
lower.
is.
Tesla's at 62. So
Yeah.
actually, it's not
It's
necessarily
cheaper,
like a,
yeah.
Look at this chart. This is like one of the best charts I see in existence. Like, you get this breakout above all-time high, a little rounded bottom retest, and now we're breaking out again. Just blue skies. Blue skies chart.
Let's see. What is the market cap on Uber? Because like I think there's a good argument for saying like Uber could eventually be like the next decade's like Mag 14. You know, like part of that group. It's $172 billion market cap.
It's already huge.
It's I mean, I don't know. Isn't it growing at like 20% a year plus?
Depends on where you measure it from.
Okay.
But like, if your scenario plays out where like there's a ton of optionality for consumers and like all of them are equally capable of like delivering an autonomous vehicle, then like of course Uber's probably gonna win that.
Okay.
I guess that's what's like open to your interpretation. Like, who's gonna deliver that? Like,
but also like people might only trust a Tesla because they've heard for the last 2 years that Tesla owners have been saying like, I hit button, put in address, and it takes me there safely.
let's play out a hypothetical. Let's say Tesla gets there first.
They just need app distribution, which probably not hard, but they're not used to marketing.
But let's say they get there first though. But then like if they do get there first, it's probably like it doesn't take long for like tech to spread out, right? Like an engineer will go from Tesla to Ford or something, and like, you know, then the other manufacturers get that eventually, like shortly thereafter, maybe like a year or 2 years later.
Still think it's like a power law distribution, right? Where the main two take up 80% of the
But I
volume.
really think the power is in Tesla's manufacturing. Like, I've never been an Elon fanboy, but I think one thing that he did correctly is like within that vertical integration, he like focused on manufacturing and sort of like beat the other car manufacturers in that game.
Right. I mean, to your point, like a Waymo car costs like $200-something thousand to like manufacture. Elon's cost of goods on that is probably way lower.
Yeah, like tell me how that's scalable. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the utilization rate of the car. Like, you put it through 20 hours of work a day?
let's talk about a cultural element of it too. Like, one thing I'm worried about is like how I know humans to be when there's no like oversight or no supervision. Like, does this thing just get absolutely vandalized in a
Yes.
putrid way? Like, people are going to be fucking inside of it, puking inside of it, littering.
There'll be
Like-
cameras inside to try to like counter that like inhibition.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually quite nervous about this idea that where there's no oversight. Like, are people actually going to use this? Because it's going to be so gross.
It's probably equal to the fact of like some random person at UberX picking you up. Like, you have
But,
the
like-
same idiosyncrasies of that
No,
driver
but
showing
there's-
up in your automated car.
But there's a person in there that like is providing that
You're
supervision.
just
That,
gonna get fined if you throw up in the robo.
Yeah,
Uber.
like you're gonna get a terrible review. You get banned from the app. Like the same kind of social constructs we have on the internet.
and then
of,
the
like,
car, like
reviews.
the product's gonna be so good that it'll be like people who are like banned from Amazon, where they're just like, I can't even survive in the world. You know, people will do anything to not get banned from it.
All right, let's move on.
But I want to throw one more quick take in here
All right, hit me.
to bring it back to the optimism side. This is from Andrew Kang, who's a Tesla bull. He's bullish on the robots. So the global human labor force, approximately 3.5 billion people. The demand for robots will not be just to replace labor jobs that currently exist, but also augment people's personal lives in the same way cell phones and passenger vehicles did. Every year, there are 70 million cars sold, 300 million computers sold, and 1.5 billion cell phones sold. It's not hard to imagine billions of robots operating a world in the future. And he basically says the total enterprise value for humanized robots will be in the tens of trillions by 2030. His
All right.
bull assumption, $60 trillion market
just
cap.
on the fucking Optimus robot.
This is total robots in the world. But
Total
you would
robot
imagine
labor.
that Tesla has like a huge chunk of this market share.
Yeah.
What does the value of the corporation
Yeah, who else
look
is
like?
even working in this space? Boston Dynamics.
Yeah. So it's fun to think about, and it's really cool. And there's definitely a price for Tesla where you consider the upside, where you're like, why do I own any crypto? Like talking about making billions of robots for people on Earth. Like that's cool as fuck. I just don't know if it's the
I
current
mean,
prices.
don't we come to the same like predicament that I presented like a few weeks ago, which is like, if you're China and you have a workforce of say like, I don't know, 500 million people that are like working in factories, and you can maybe instantly increase the productivity and GDP and profitability of all the companies that work under you by replacing those workers with robots, but you instantly put 500 million people out of jobs. Like, there is this like, at some point, if you're able to, use AI and robots to replace a huge portion of the workforce, like, you don't want to make that trade-off, because like it has like terrible consequences for your end goal, which is like, you want your people to like have prosperity and income so that the GDP grows. So, I like this like analysis. It's very simplistic. It's a good back of the napkin, but I don't necessarily seeing like Chinese and Indian governments being like, yeah, let's just replace.
But of course they're going to do that, because like the interesting thing about your scenario is that it totally levels the playing field between like the United States and China. Like, what's the difference between manufacturing stuff in the U.S. and China if the whole freaking
Labor
factory
cost.
is just robots?
Yeah.
And the robot costs the same to buy no matter where you are in the world. Like, that's really...
Ooh, I'm imagining the first like federal policy that gives you like triple depreciation on robots you
yeah.
pay for just for that are manufacturing only.
Dude, yeah. Imagine
Triple accelerated depreciation.
Yeah, we're gonna get so much.
Dude, like, seriously, I feel like the U.S. government should massively incentivize. Like, you want to talk about incentivizing stuff that we incentivize. Like, robots seem like interesting, because the faster that robots become widely adopted to the point where they just completely dominate like all aspects of the manufacturing process, then it's like, okay, China loses their huge chunk of their like economic might.
Yeah, talk to me in 6 election cycles after the whole populist thing is done for, because a populist candidate can't pitch that.
God, I want to have this discussion too. God, there's too much stuff to talk about. That's a good discussion. Oh, I really want to go down that rabbit hole.
You think we're gonna lose populism in 6 election cycles?
Sure.
Yeah, just kind of ebbs and flows.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
It does ebb and flow. Usually after some
After
blow up.
Yeah. After
which
we
we
fail.
haven't quite.
All right,
quite reached
let's
yet.
talk about SpaceX, and then maybe we'll get to some of the coin and hood stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. We're an hour and a half into this pod.
I know.
Do we have to cut some stuff?
Probably.
Probably.
So what happens when you take a week off?
All right,
Yeah.
let's speed run some stuff. Let's give the people some snippets. Try to hold back a little bit. We're gonna talk about what hood and coin.
You want to go there first?
We can speed run.
Let's
that.
get through. Maybe we can skip over the SpaceX thing. I don't think
Okay,
we have.
I agree.
Yeah.
Elon caught a rocket. It's pretty freaking
With
cool.
chopsticks.
I mean,
Awesome.
God, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, but we could talk about that more when Armand's here.
But he's under delivering.
I'm inspired.
Under delivering.
Okay,
Okay.
let's go coin versus hood.
Yeah, so let's talk coin versus hood. I dropped a little tidbit in the Discord talking about how I think hood might be undervalued relative to coin. Possibly a better play forward here on out. Before we pull up any charts or anything, I'm just curious if you guys have any thoughts on coin versus hood.
I mean, my bed's been made. I still have those
You're
leaps
all on the
we
coin leaps.
Yeah, I mean, we purchased those maybe a year ago,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
they roll till end of 2025.
2020, end of 2025.
I think.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
some of them are a little sooner. They end a little sooner, but
some
some of them.
juice on those bad boys.
Yeah, so I mean, they've speaking of volatility, those things have been those things are going up and down and up and down.
You've been like Lieutenant Dan in South Florida during the hurricane.
Yeah.
Just riding your boat.
I'm not
Just
fucking leaving.
I'm hanging on, baby.
Yeah, and I was thinking about what's the opposite of the notional value? Just like the
they're just like the option value.
Yeah, the option value. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's like a good size bet. But, when you calculate the notional value at some point, you're like, oh, shit, this is a lot of shares of Coinbase. But, yeah, it's interesting because as the theta decays or whatever, the delta seems to slightly be increasing. So when it as time goes on, as the price and volatility moves up and down, the price swings are getting slightly more.
It's because you're deeper in the money.
Yeah.
Sir.
it's amazing. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I'm kind of made my bet already. I sold the hood options at some point because I did have a little play there. So kind of biased.
I'm equally biased towards both because I own a fuckload of both. And I'm very happy with that, but I disagree with your thesis. So coin, better play going forward. Higher upside going forward. Hood overvalued, not undervalued.
Okay, interesting. Why do you think hood is overvalued?
Because its business model is sort of limited, I think. You were sort of suspicious of Tesla trading at 62 times earnings, rightly so. Robinhood trades at 90 times earnings, with basically zero growth catalyst.
And what does coin trade at?
Probably in the I'd have to look it up, but I'm guessing probably in the 30s or 40s.
Okay, so higher multiple on hood.
Yeah, and so Robinhood's playing a different game, right? Robinhood's TradFi with a crypto, it's like icing on the cake crypto. 33% of its revenues come from crypto trading revenues, whereas
33, okay,
or 35, something like that. Yeah. Versus Coinbase, which is a pure play crypto. Robinhood is making a lot of money on degens trading options. In the TradFi world, most brokerage firms have kind of gotten away from commissions on common stock trades at large. So Robinhood kind of led the way there, but a lot of players are following. But I guess that's a feather in the cap for Robinhood is there's a lot of players in the TradFi option space, of which Coinbase does not participate at all. But even still, Robinhood's earnings are not sufficient to justify the price today. So you're paying for 90 years of earnings right now, today.
Versus 37.
90 years of earnings, when it's priced like that, you're expecting this thing to grow significantly. And its business, Robinhood's business model is built in such a way where it's like they do that pay for order flow model. So like they earn their revenues from Citadel et al. And they say like here's like our orders, and you give us like, you know,
Go front run us for
front run us for like 2 cents, and that doesn't grow that fast. Like the business model, I think is just not very good.
Well, I mean, so Hood has been pumping along with crypto, I think, and coin. So the market seems to have a lot of hope for the stock tied up in the whims of crypto. What do you think about the idea that Robinhood could basically be like the premier TradFi meme coin casino? And then think about payment for order flow in its current forms, but like think about how much money is made via like MEV.
Wait, doesn't that just become like a binary bet then? Like who gets elected, right? Like assuming that's your thesis.
Well, I would make the argument that Robinhood is maybe a little more indifferent to who gets elected. I actually think Coinbase's upside is like way higher than Robinhood under like a Trump presidency. I think there's just so many like regulatory overhangs with Coinbase, whereas like if you're talking about bull case for Hood being TradFi meme coin casino, like meme coins I think inherently are less tied to sort of like regulatory questions than like all the stuff Coin is trying to do, all the assets that are trying to be listed on Coin, or maybe like derivatives for those assets and that sort of thing.
Before you and I go further, can I get a little clarity on like what time horizon you're considering when you're even framing this? Because like I know you to be shorter term oriented than I am typically.
Yeah, I mean Coin is kind of like mentally in my like Bitcoin bucket, I think.
Right.
I just view them as very similar. So Coin is an inherently longer term thing to me, and like I haven't sold like a single share of Coin, whereas like I TP on all my shit coins constantly, right? Like I have hedged via options like a bunch of times, but like I haven't sold any, and I don't really plan on selling any because I just think I do think Trump is going to win. I do think there's going to be this whole new paradigm of regulatory clarity, and I think there is going to be this massive flood of TradFi money pouring into the space that like literally has not existed before, and even now with the Bitcoin ETF, like still does not exist. Like all the Bitcoin ETF flows are still just like crypto degens moving money into Bitcoin in their brokerage accounts for the most part, right? So like we haven't even seen the beginnings of this wave, and like I do see a world where Coin is like a multi-trillion-dollar company.
Yes. Okay, so that's exactly what I want to point out is like I think you and I align on our like long-term vision for Coin, which is like this thing can become like a bank that doesn't even exist yet. Like it's like a V3 bank, and it's the first of its kind. But I don't see Hood that way. Like I view Hood as like basically like a Charles Schwab for poor people. I'm being honest. Like
That's good. They should use that.
So like like its average account value is about $5,000. Like and in a game like this, like financial games, like financial companies make money off like high AUM.
Yeah.
And like this is they've like created a good niche like in this like sort of underserved portion of traders. And I think you're right. Like they can win over that like degen sort of like meme coin trading, and there can be high fees on that. But like I wanted to actually bring up even beyond this conversation, like some other examples of other brokerage firms that are fucking crushing. Like Interactive Brokers, for instance, ticker symbol IBKR. I don't know if you can pull up this chart, but like
of course I can.
Pull up an IBKR chart, which like you and I both use, right? Like, or have used in the past. Ooh. Like
wow.
Like this is IBKR's chart.
Yo, why don't I own this?
And like this is like low vol, high return type shit that I'm talking about, where like you don't actually need to like go super far out on a risk curve. You can just buy this with leverage, like use options on this and get way better returns than meme coins, like with something that's lower risk.
Yeah. This is like its own, I think, really interesting in-depth discussion and debate the idea that like, should you just buy crypto or should you just lever
like lower risk stuff that has good returns.
like IBKR is not going to zero.
Yeah.
Wait,
It's
so
not. It's not.
they earn their earnings from fees, I assume, and their take rate is probably
They're playing like the same game as Schwab. Both Schwab and Interactive Brokers are different than Hood in that they're not pay for order flow. You pay commissions on
right.
Schwab and Interactive. They don't like sell their order flow. But that to me is like why I don't want to like really like buy into Hood's business model, because it's a capped upside. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I feel like this coin versus Hood argument is just like a Bitcoin correlated bet, and I don't even know if it's like higher beta, but in any case, my options are higher beta on coin because there's no options on Bitcoin. But
right.
but it seems like that's essentially
Yet.
what this play is. Yet there will be soon.
There's options on MicroStrategy.
Oh God,
You can get options on the already levered.
already
yeah,
levered
right.
Bitcoin.
Nice.
That's funny. But in any case, like when I look at it, it seems like coin is higher correlated to Bitcoin than Hood. And when I had to like back my decision on like why this is in there, it's like, okay, it's a higher beta. The options at least are a higher beta play on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is a play on like monetary debasement over a long period of time. So
Yeah.
I don't want to, in my mind, I don't make it more complicated than that.
I agree. I think I agree with you guys long term on coin. I'd rather hold coin than Robinhood. I will say short term, like for a trade, the Robinhood chart looks unbelievable.
Okay.
Like
Tell us all about
Go
this, because
on.
I'm a massive option holder in Robinhood
I'm up
as well.
so much money on my options that because we were talking about this back in the fall on Irresponsibly Long, because we were pointing out this is a 2-year long sideways accumulation base.
Yeah,
right?
we were buying the calls in that yellow circle that you.
So I mean,
created.
I sized this like very small because it was. I'm glad I sized it at all, but it felt under the category of like, oh, you have an idea, just buy some and then like add to it later.
FOMO insurance.
I never added to it. I feel like I'm up like 6x or something on the options right now, but it's not a very big size. But this chart looks good, and like it wouldn't surprise me if this thing ran like so much higher with a base that size. And then the coin chart, we got that like big supply. This is like the IPO supply hurdle, right? We like I hedged this at that magical dotted line, which it very nicely ticked. So I can make a couple arguments for this chart, right? I can say like, okay, we just tapped that supply, and now this is going to be resistance, and it's going to be a hard time getting through, and maybe we go lower, right? I could also squint my eyes and see kind of like a consolidation and then like a manipulation into prior demand, and now we've reclaimed that level, which would be a super bullish scenario. But I do think like if we're able to like clear that zone, like kind of get above 380 or whatever, and flip that, oh my God, just
Hold on. So
amazing.
yeah, I actually flipped the camera to us, but I'm going to go back to the chart. Like, this to me also kind of looks just like higher lows throughout. Like
It's a bullish chart for sure, but
Right,
it's not as cleanly bullish to me as the Hood chart.
Oh, I
It
see.
doesn't have quite the base that the Hood one. I mean, it's still a bit of a base, but I think the Hood is a little cleaner. Like
Okay.
it's like with a crypto chart, right? You don't want the coin where there's all these holders above you who are trapped and they're they're going to dump on you. Which is kind of that's kind of what happened to us in the spring. Like we ran into that zone of supply, and that was like the top for a while.
Oof.
But once if that supply is exhausted and we kind of clear that area, I mean it's looking so good, and then we can start talking about those multi-$1,000 price points that we've kind of
Yeah, and I
conjured
think like I'm personally a believer in those like multi-thousand price points on coin, but like not so much a believer in like that pie in the sky dream with Hood, because like the business model is just not.
Yeah.
compelling.
Well,
I agree with you. Longer term,
Max in the chat is
They
saying
see.
they just announced a new web-based platform called Robinhood Legend that's like a competitor to Thinkorswim
Yeah.
for more advanced traders, and I assume they're trying to solve it for the problem of like average account balance
Yeah,
by
and
providing more advanced features.
I've actually been following because like they've done some like good moves along the way. One is like trying to build like a subscription model. They like offered that like credit card, and like they're trying to get like $5 a month or something, which is like probably more than they make on the average user. They have been trying to like hungry hippo up like 401k funds, which is like a long-term play, you know, like, so they offered like a 1-to-1 match. If you like deposited your 401k into Robinhood, they would like
rolled it into the Robinhood IRA.
yeah, but it'd be like a 1-to-1 match up to like 1% or something. But that's still very nice. But that's like a way to get like wealthier clients.
Yeah.
You know, it's like build your AUM like beyond just like fractional share buyers.
That's
you
kind of
know?
interesting.
So I think they're doing the right things, but like this game is going to take a lot longer for them, starting from a very low base, I believe.
Okay.
All right,
Before we move to the next topic, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, Magic Spoon. So go to magicspoon.com/alfalfa. I like to eat the snack throughout the day, straight out of the box. I'm not a big milk fan, so I don't know.
This is a keto cereal.
Yeah, keto friendly.
Keto friendly.
Keto friendly cereal. Kind of like protein friendly as well. So they have a variety pack that has cocoa, fruity, peanut butter, and frosted. Each one's got about 13 to 14 grams of protein. Keto friendly in the fact that it has 0 grams of total sugars and 4 grams of net carbs. About 140, I think like 160 calories per serving. Yeah, gluten friendly, great, grain free, soy free. Yeah, and it still tastes great, like all the childhood favorite cereals that we all grew up on. So yeah, go to magicspoon.com/alfalfa. If you use the code alfalfa at checkout, you get $5 off the variety box. And if you or the kids don't like it, they'll take it back. No questions asked. So thank you, Magic Spoon, for sponsoring the podcast. Appreciate you.
All right, so
You have
you
too
guys
much on your
wanna-
mind. You have too much on your mind.
I do. I'm like thinking about this Ethereum discussion we had queued up, and I'm like, there's no way we're gonna do this in like less than 40 minutes. So I'm, like,
Whatever.
wondering
If you just want to roll, we could roll.
if we should punch it the next week, because Eric also made me think of like another thing I wanted to ask him about.
Keep
Just
going.
Totally.
Assume the cameras aren't here. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So you alluded briefly to the idea of if you love vol and you want big returns, you don't care that your portfolio goes down negative 80%. You have the ability to just take stonks that are already kind of volatile and make them even more volatile, and juice the returns with leverage. I feel like we live in an era where this is like way more attractive than it ever used to be, because I feel like for a while
This meaning what? This meaning what?
like the times we live in right now for a number of reasons, right? The first reason I think is that growth is hockey sticking, I think, in a way that it hadn't before. Because I feel like we used to say like, oh, average S&P return is like 8%, and then the cost of capital was like 6-7%, right? And if you're like, oh, I want to lever up my portfolio to go levered long the S&P index, what are you doing? You're borrowing money at 6-7% to make an extra point or two. Like, doesn't make any sense. But like, what's the average return of the Nasdaq been over the last like?
This is
10
something.
years?
This is something
it's been
that
like 20%.
dude. This is
crazy,
something that
right?
I've wanted to bring up since.
And the cost of capital is going down now.
Dude,
right?
a couple episodes ago, I brought this up. I got fucking dragged by people who are like very crypto. And
Who's dragging you?
in the Discord, I got called a horseshit take.
Wait, I want the
I love that.
I
love
want the
that.
receipts on this.
Yeah, I can't wait to
want
go
the
back and look.
receipts on
I'm going to
this.
search in Discord horse-shit.
Yeah, but it was with an asterisk as one of them. So
Okay.
you know, do some deep dives. But within this, like the comparison was like, well, since you know X date, I compare Bitcoin to the S&P 500, and like I don't even like the S&P 500. Period. Like I think that's one of my takes is that the S&P sucks. Like I have like a Roth IRA that I started fucking decades ago. And like within the Roth IRA, I have some S&P and NASDAQ that I've like just never sold and like never added to either. But the NASDAQ is up like 8x the S&P over that time period. Like why S&P ever? I think that's like an uncommon
Volatility.
No, but like for long-term money, I'm talking about something I've held for decades. Like for long-term money, why?
Well, you just want straight Nasdaq?
Yes. Like
Yeah.
why do we even use the S&P? Like S&P's full of fucking
Well, because
stupid
like
shit.
I don't know, maybe like 5 years before your retirement date, the thing goes down 40%.
So can I devil's advocate this a little bit?
Yeah.
Stuff that's in the S&P that's not necessarily in the Nasdaq, like energy, commodities exposure. You're going to an era maybe of scarce real assets. Could be good.
Yep.
Healthcare, probably. I mean, healthcare has been like the best thing you could have ever done was to just buy like United Healthcare, right?
And
When
Eli
Obama
Lilly,
put on
yeah.
like that was the best scam of all time. That thing's been just mega up only. That's only going up.
I mean,
so.
like these are like interesting elements within the S&P that are also getting diluted, fivefold by the shit that isn't interesting.
Yeah, like banks. Yeah,
Like everything.
yeah, like a lot. No. I mean, I generally agree with you, which is kind of why I brought this up because I feel like we are living through like a very interesting time where clearly we are hockey sticking in a way that we haven't in a long time.
Yeah, and like even
on the tech
within
front.
like healthcare, for instance, I'll take that silo because this is one I can kind of like defend. But like within healthcare, there are like I'm certain Nasdaq like sort of like tech healthcare oriented companies that are in the Nasdaq that are like participating in the healthcare boom, right? Like it doesn't have to be the stodgy healthcare. It doesn't have to be hospitals. It can be like interesting
Can I
tech healthcare.
Can I throw out like a use case to your idea of like take lower risk, high return stocks and leverage them up? So can you pull up the chart for ticker symbol AJG?
Just to be clear, lower risk, lower returns on a relative basis, but still high return. Like
AJG.
Oh, I was about to be like, why?
Yeah, so this company most people haven't heard of. It's called Arthur J. Gallagher. and
first of all, look at the vol on this thing. The vol on this is like zero.
it's minimal.
Yeah, it's like a zero vol up only. This
Okay.
is like the perfect thing to take leverage on.
Right. So
Oh, sorry. I didn't fucking put it on the screen. I'm sorry.
yeah, there we go.
What the hell
That's
is
the
this?
chart. Okay, so what this company is, they're an insurance brokerage firm that just, like, I swear to God, every week they buy a new insurance brokerage, and that's all they are. So they trade about 50 times earnings, and they go probably buy other brokerage firms. They're buying EBITDA, like left and right. We had a mutual friend of ours. He sold his insurance brokerage to this firm, and he was like one out of like 50 they acquired that year. And so they're the massive acquirer of like mom and pop insurance brokerages. And so these insurance brokerages sell like car insurance, but business insurance most particularly. So for example, we actually use like one of the firms that got acquired by Arthur J. Gallagher to insure our product liability risk and, all the different risks that any business has. But they have a simple business model. It's just keep acquiring more of these. They know the price they can pay, and they're essentially arbitraging their publicly traded PE ratio with how much they're acquiring these for.
I love that. This is the way to like actually acquire businesses is you like take your PE multiple, compare it to what you're acquiring.
It's just like, cool, I'll pay 20 times,
Yeah.
or 10 times.
Yeah.
And like,
Steven, are you able to after I can tell you're doing something, but at some point I want you to layer on the S&P with this chart if you're able to do that.
Yeah, I can do that for you.
Thanks, man.
By the way, the
What-
historical volatility of this is 19 as compared
holy
to
shit.
19
Bitcoin's
compared.
I was just gonna say, but how do you measure that? Like when you say vol, what should everyone understand? Like, if I'm gonna Google it, am I gonna look at the 52-week volatility
No, that's a great
of
question.
ticker symbol AJG? Like, what is the
No, that's a
common
great
definition?
question. No, there is no.
That's what I-
There is no common definition.
Okay.
That's what I do is I do like a 52.
But every platform, no matter what you look at, will use their own standard. There is no like industry standard.
What do
of
you like
it
to use,
fall.
Eric? Like implied volatility of the option, or
I typically don't even calculate this kind of thing. Like, but
Well, this thing is crushing that.
okay.
S&P.
So here's the
Wow.
S&P. If you can find, like, here's what I'm trying to say is like I'm agnostic to crypto stocks, whatever. What I'm into is making money, and where you can make the most money is when you find something like this. You can find something like this that is like very low vol. You look at the drawdowns here. The drawdowns are low. They're not deep, and it's like up only. And if you can just like find something like this and then lever on that, either using options or margin or whatever you want to use, this is going to outperform basically like anything that we ever look at.
I mean, look at this is only looking 5 years back. You look 10 years back, it's even crazier. And they're just doing the same playbook over and over and over again. I didn't even know it beat the S&P. I just been following this company since our buddy got acquired by it.
So since the COVID lows, S&P's up 125%. This is up 290%.
And like there's another company that does this with software, like SaaS companies, and I think I forget, the Constellation Software, I think is the name. And like over time, their PE ratio kind of got a little out of hand, because maybe they were playing in software and not like a boring business like insurance brokerages. But I don't know how to tell like if this thing gets out of hand valuation wise.
Right.
But in either case, like they have a playbook that
But
works.
even like so what you gave here, I like, but it's kind of like a deep cut. Like this is not something that's like on everybody's radar.
No.
But I think if Steven were to like layer on a stock that everyone knows about, like choose any of the Mag 7 or Nvidia or something, it would probably be crushing the S&P as well, and it would have lower vol than crypto. And like that to me is equally compelling, and you don't have to go that fucking deep into the weeds.
Can you just tell me how to play this? So let's say I found a stock that has low vol, high return, good risk return ratio, whatever, sharp ratio. Like, what do I do? Do I buy leaps on this thing and like buy options, to December 2025 or, December 2026, and then let those sit and maybe halfway through roll them into 2027 and just keep.
We have to preface that question with like, if we were to assume that this chart continues the way it does. I have no idea if the chart's going to continue the way it does. I literally just heard the ticker for the first time. So what I would say is like, if you were to like go back 12 months or whatever and like play it ideally, obviously the ideal is always to like pick the shortest time horizon in which the price goes the highest. That's very hard to do. Like it probably impossible to do.
Right.
So in
also very high maintenance.
Yeah. So in lieu of that, like the optimized way, I try to just think of what's a better way than what exists in front of me. Like if buying the common stock is the way that exists in front of you, a better way to do it is to use leverage, like through like options. So like simple way is like I buy deep in the money calls. Deep in the money. Deep in the money is like basically buying the stock.
Okay.
Like I can't even see what the stock prices are on this screen.
Are you getting old?
That's just a return anyway. That's just percentage.
Oh, that's percentage return. Okay, so like if the stock was trading $100,
it's trading at 290.
Okay, so if the stock's trading at 290, I might buy a call at like $60. Like, but then my buy-in gives me 100 shares for less than 100 shares would cost me, and in that sense, I'm getting leverage.
Capital efficiency.
Yeah, it's capital efficiency. Like, if you want to like take more risk, then you like put your strike price higher. But like even just what I'm describing is like the simplest easy thing, like is basically like buying common stock, but with greater efficiency.
A few questions on that. So when you're saying I'd buy deep in the money calls, are you saying I take the same amount that I would normally put in common stock and put it into those deep in the money calls? Like if you were going to bet 100 grand on this, you would take 100 grand and put it deep in the money calls versus common stock, right? You have to take the same amount of money in comparison in order to take advantage of the leverage you're talking about, right?
You could do, well, it depends on like how levered you want to be. Because say you just want to do like trad file leverage. Say you want to juice it, you want to be like 20% or something. You want to go like 10x leverage, right?
Yeah.
You want to put like an extra 20%. Well, you could put like a huge chunk of your portfolio in like say you have like 100K. Like imagine you have 100K, you put like a 50K into the underlying, and then you put another 50K into basically like at the money options that are probably like 2x or whatever it is for 2x, right? Then a portion of your portfolio, portion of that cash is like 2x lever,
right?
And then a portion of it is just like straight. So you'd end up with like what, like 25%?
Okay, I see what you're
if
saying.
you did that, and then your entire position also isn't options that you're managing, which might be less ideal. So you could probably work up a scenario where you have like a larger chunk in the underlying and then like a smaller chunk in options, but that options position is like more levered. I feel like there's like a ton of ways to skin the cat,
you're right, but like ultimately, it just depends on where you think this thing's going. Like if you think the thing, like this stock in particular, we're showing is basically like a slow grinder.
It's like a
up-
Johnson and Johnson.
Yeah, it's like a slow grinder up and to the right. Like a Coinbase, for instance, doesn't follow that pattern, right? It has like massive upswings followed by drawdowns, but like the massive upswings might go to a price that like people haven't seen before, right? So you can buy out of the money calls on something like that instead of deep in the money, because like you might feel like the stock's going to hit some crazy price.
Okay,
that's
so
out
that
of the
brings up
money.
my second question, which one of the first things I learned from both of you guys about options is that, hey, you're not really playing price, you're playing volatility. Like you're buying volatility and selling it, based on volatility. But like with a stock like this that doesn't have that much volatility, are we back to playing price? Like if I buy, it's sitting at 290 and I buy the $300 strike price in like December of 2026 or something, like it doesn't have that much vol. So am I just playing the price?
No, it still depends like how far out of the money it is. Like like you can buy options with different like dates and sort of like in the money, out of the money, where one option contract may have like a huge vol component still. But the other one, like if you're buying like mega deep in the money options, then like it's gonna behave more just like the pure underlying
It's
stock.
just like
right?
stock.
Okay.
But like I'll tell you, what I've been doing a lot lately is sort of like vol agnostic, which I like. It's like ASML, for instance. ASML just dropped 20% like in a 2-day period, and this company's good. Like without getting too deep into it, ASML is a good company. It's kind of like an NVIDIA adjacent.
Right.
Okay, so ASML peaked at $1,100 a share. It's currently down at like $690 a share. Something I want to do is own ASML. How am I going to do that? I'm going to use options. And here's what I'm going to do. Like vol is very high right now. It dropped 20% in a couple days. Vol is very high. Like typically buying options, like if you want to buy a call right now, you're going to pay a premium on the vol right now because it just moved huge in the last 2 days. But I like this like vol agnostic version where I'm like, okay, so here's what I might do. I might like ASML 690. I like the stock. I actually think it's going to go a little lower, so I might wait a little bit. But like if it goes to 650, like what I might do is like I'll buy a $700 call.
Okay.
I'll sell a $1,000 call, and I'll sell a $500 call. So I'm getting paid for the vol on my short legs, and I'm paying for the vol on my long leg. So it's like vol agnostic, but I get the free upside to 1,000.
Sorry, are you selling when you said I'm going to sell like a $500 option? Did you say mean a put or a
sorry? Yeah, I
a
said
put.
call. I meant put. Sorry.
Yeah, you're going to sell a put.
sell
okay.
a put. Yeah,
Got it.
and like when I do that, it's like imperative for me that I know I have like an idea of what intrinsic value is on that stock. Like I'm not just like picking a random number below. Like if I like the common at 650, then I'm for sure gonna like the common at 500. Like
Right.
for me, like knowing what this stock is worth is imperative.
So is all that work worth it when I guess I'm worried about the naked risk. Like when you're selling a put, obviously you have to have cash available.
Yeah.
If you get put the stock, you have to put up the cash.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said you're buying a call at strike price 1, and then you're selling a call at strike price 1 plus or X plus, whatever amount.
Yeah.
So you're protected in that scenario, right? Like to unlimited losses.
So yeah, I mean your loss is still unlimited because like the stock could go to zero. But I don't look at it in terms of that, like the trade that you're saying is like I could lose everything. Like I look at it as a relative to buying the common now. So like if the stock's at 650, common stock's at 650, I could buy the common stock, or I could do this 3-leg trade.
You get paid to if it possibly goes down to 500, then buy it then.
Right, and like yeah, that's sort of what I view as like the benefit is that like I'm not actually losing until it goes to 500 versus if you buy the common now at 650, then you're losing all the way down to 500 and beyond.
Yeah, and so you and I have had this conversation like outside the pod, so I'll re-ask some of the like basic questions I had. Does selling the like further out strike price call upside and selling the put on the downside, does that essentially fund your call to your option to,
Yeah, I mean,
buy the call at like, I don't know, 700 or whatever?
Yeah, that's the idea. Like depending on how aggressive you are on those strikes, it will either fund it entirely, or it will fund partially,
So
or it'll pay you.
Almost a free play on the upside of it to a certain extent.
Or like you can, to the point earlier, it's like you can take how much money you wanted to put in this trade, and you can like get way more exposure because you're like partially financing the trade with like these.
Cool. And
sales.
this has become your like kind of playbook in terms of like when you want to go long a stock.
Yeah.
This is like you're just doing these 3 options instead of just buying the common.
Yeah. I almost want to like restart my business entirely and just like
Do this.
Not have clients that I currently have, and just be like, this is what we do, and like just find people that want to do this.
All right, maybe a little slightly broader question, but I heard Chem Carson, which we've talked about in this podcast before. He's very into options, but he said, stocks are underlying, options are derivative. But he was like, in 10 years, options will be the like underlying, meaning they'll become so popular that we'll look at options as like, no, why would you ever buy common stocks? So do you think you're maybe ahead of the game, or are you just more fucking degenerate? Do you just like gambling more? You have a higher tolerance for risk?
I think that within the framework that I understand, this is like it's iteratively better than owning the common. But, there is risk. Like you ultimately have to be like, you have to like have the cash to be assigned if it goes below your price. So like,
Right.
I'm prepared for that. But there's no free lunch. There's no free lunch anywhere.
Yeah. Steven, what do you think about all this?
Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons I was thinking about converting most of my coin position to an options position is that, like, I can't use the stock as collateral anyway in my account. And
You could sell calls against it. You could sell puts against it.
Yeah, that's different than, using it as collateral. Like I'm.
You can withdraw dollars against your position.
It's like 4% or something stupid.
Oh.
It's nothing. So it makes more sense to me to say you have like a 100K position. Maybe it makes more sense to sell the 100K, get 100K cash, use a 20K notional levered to get that exposure, and then you have like 80K cash, and then maybe do something else with the 80K cash. I don't know, just something I've been
I like that
pontificating.
You get a strong agree from me.
Yeah, options boy. All right, I think we're definitely gonna have to not deliver on the. Sorry to everybody who watched my tweet. Like all the tickers I tweeted are not going to be talked about today.
Yeah, we get to talk about it next week.
We're not good at brevity, but I think we probably should bring it home into the.
Yeah, we can't get into our Von Deeper either.
No,
we've gone pretty good here.
We can't Von
this
Deeper.
is fun though.
We're just gonna.
I liked it. I keep going on this topic.
Dad's away.
More
talk money the whole time.
Armand's gone. We slide all this stuff in.
Guys, we're not delivering on the promise to the audience in this episode.
But the audience in Salt Lake asked for more money stuff, so we are delivering on that.
All right. Well, Armand, we're sorry.
Armand, we're sorry.
We'll be better next week.
We're very sorry. We ruined your baby. All right. Props to anybody who stuck around through all that. They got a little bit in the weeds there.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't know. Let us know. Give us some feedback on if you like the stuff or not. Either way, thanks for still sticking with us. If you haven't liked the stream already, like it. It helps with the algorithms and all that good stuff. So appreciate you guys for joining us. Hop in the Discord too if you haven't already. And otherwise, we'll see you next week, next Wednesday at 5 p.m. PST on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts. Thanks, guys.
Later.
See you later.